Welcome to the Slade Ham experiment. Hi, how are you? I'm asking that sincerely. I know you can't answer right now. I mean, you can't tell me. I can't hear you right now, but you can tell me. That's what the comments are for. I'm concerned about you, all of you. You guys, I want to complete a thought this episode that I started at the very end of last episode, so we will get to the radio station stories. But it's also going to backtrack. I want to talk a little bit about how I got into that in the first place and sort of how I ended up here. But before that, I was online in a brief conversation with someone about death row meals. If you had to go, what would yours be? Right? You get one more meal before they plug you into the wall and flip the switch, and we can see your bones. It's almost about to happen. You get to eat one thing before it does. Maybe, I don't know what state you're in. Perhaps there is no death penalty. Perhaps they're still using the injection where they put the multicolored liquid in you and turn you into a lava lamp right there in front of your victim's family and everybody. Anyway, I don't know. You're about to die. Let's just call it that. Maybe you were kidnapped in a non-capital punishment state, and the kidnapper took you to a cabin and told you they were going to kill you, and you could have. The point is, you have one meal. You get to eat one more time before you die. What's it going to be? And I want to know yours. Mine, for the longest time, was fried shrimp. Gulf fried shrimp. Big fat side of French fries, hush puppies. Who cares about the cholesterol? I'm dying tomorrow. This doesn't matter. Yes, I'm getting dessert. Bring me the menu. Fried shrimp. And I'm picky about this too. Not cornmeal fried shrimp. Not that gritty, sandpapery, why can't I get this out of my teeth fried shrimp. Save that for the hush puppies, because I'm getting those too. But flour fried shrimp. Anyway, that's what it was going to be for the longest time. And I finally, it's like, because it's your last meal. You want the most amount of happiness in your mouth that you can get at one time, right? That's how you want to go out. And I think mine is simple. I think I would go with Pillsbury cinnamon rolls and bacon. But you got to cook the bacon right too. You can't. Oh, this is going to turn into a whole nother fight. Some of you are going to want that bacon is slobbery, like you can't even tell that it was barely, like it was dipped in a pot of hot water for a second and it comes out looking like prosciutto. Some of you eat your bacon that way. You weird trollops. That's not the right word. And then some of you eat it way too burnt. God, why am I sidetracked on bacon? Too burnt is like, just go ahead and make that bacon bits. Just put that on a salad, bro. Why are you trying to hit me with this kind of bacon? I don't want your raw bacon. I don't want your burnt bacon. I want you to put it, I don't even want you to cook it on it. No, if you got a griddle, I'm back in, all right? If we're doing some Waffle House level shit. But if you're just going to cook it at the house, turn your oven on. Put your bacon in a tray. Put your bacon in the oven and cook it for like 12 minutes at 420 or so degrees. I'm not a chef. I don't know how this works. I press the button a couple of times. I put the bacon in the oven. I wait 12 minutes. I go get the bacon out. It's generally perfect. Your oven perhaps is different. But that's where bacon belongs. And that's what I want. That bacon, and I want cinnamon rolls, and I want all 8 of them. I don't want you. No, you only need. I need them all. I need all 8 cinnamon rolls, and the whole pack of bacon. Put it all on a plate. It is. Come on. You can kill me, or you can just wait a little bit, and the cholesterol will get me. Either way, that's my meal. That's what, because it was, somebody said barbecue, which leads into an entirely different conundrum. Which barbecue, right? God forbid you're stuck in jail in Tennessee. Oh, vomit. Want to die with all that vinegar on my breath? And I'm from Texas, so I should be very staunchly in favor of Texas barbecue. I should be the first one charging up the hill to fall on my sword over Texas barbecue. But nay, I am not. I'm a Kansas City barbecue fan. And that's probably distressing to a great many of you in the state of Texas with me. I know. I like Texas barbecue. I'm never against it. You know, barbecue in Texas, totally down. Give me some brisket. Let's get in there. But I'm a ribs guy, which makes me a Kansas City barbecue guy. Because I'm a wet, sloppy, sugary barbecue sauce covered rib guy. Not this dry ass putting mustard on your barbecue. Memphis, you deserve to fall in every hole imaginable for what you've done to barbecue. And the fact that you're even in the conversation with places like Carolina and Texas and Kansas City is only because what you did to meat is so goddamn unbelievable that we have to talk about it. Nobody in Memphis is proud of that. Eat my mustard vinegar meat. You dirty, shut up, Memphis. Anyway, that's just a sidebar. That's not what I'm here for. I'm not even here to mention this that I got to mention also. I just want to tell this stupid story that I killed the rat. Yeah. Yes, I know. I've left you all hanging as to what happened with the rat that has been visiting me for the last month. He's dead. He's dead. His dead body, his big, fat, stupid rat ass was hanging out of a trap. Thank you to all of you who suggested peanut butter. That is, in fact, the correct answer to what catches rats. You can do all the other stuff. You can try to get in a rat's head. You can try to go back through its Uber Eats history and see what it orders the most. You can do all of that. But at the end of the day, a big fat spoon of peanut butter near something that'll break a rat's neck is about the most effective way I've ever seen in my life to kill a rat. Now, that was after many days of it just flexing. It would just be in the kitchen. I'd turn on the lights and it would just look up at me and just dawdle off. It didn't even run fast anymore. It's like it came back to the kitchen because it forgot something. Oh, I'm just here, I guess, for its weight bench or whatever. This thing, I thought it was a cat. But when it died, because this went on for about 2.5 weeks, I think, maybe 3. It was dead before last week's episode, but I neglected to tell you. That's on me. So about 2.5 weeks this went on, and it just every morning I would just get up, check the trap, nothing would be there, reload the peanut butter, or let it sit, just depending on my mood. If I was making something, I'd throw little crumbs down by the trap, just trying to lead it in a little bit better so it would eat the peanut butter. And then it started stealing the peanut butter, which was just obnoxiously disrespectful to me. Like it would show up and like it was so big it would put one leg on the trap, just hold it down and eat all the peanut butter and then move its leg back. Or like it would bring furniture in from the living room and set it on the trap so it didn't go. This thing was huge. So anyway, by the time I finally caught it, I was every day. It was my routine, was find a different way to bait this thing. And when I saw that big ass, that big naked tail hanging out of the trap, I got sad. Like, it's my arch nemesis. You ever read, have you read it? I think they made an animated version of it. Alan Moore's The Killing Joke. If you haven't, you're looking for a comic book. Why would you be looking for a comic book? You're not me. Alan Moore wrote probably the definitive version of the Joker in this particular stretch of Batman's comic book history. And at the end, he tells Batman, he reminds him that, and they're in this weird, it's nebulous. You don't know at the end if Batman kills him or not. It's a good ending. But the Joker Batman's got him, and the Joker looks at him and he goes, you and I are both sides or different sides of the same coin, Bats, and we need each other. And one, Batman should obviously grow up. You got a ongoing relationship with a dude clown because you can't reconcile some shit that happened when you were 8 years old. Come on, bro. People's parents died. That sucks. I get it. They keep reminding you with those fallen pearls in every version of the movie. But you gotta move on with your life, Bats. You can't be a grown man hanging on to childhood stuff. Got you fighting clowns on rooftops. Maybe you are crazy, you know? That's how I felt when I saw this rat hanging out of the back of the truck. It was just a moment of, oh, I got his ass. But then there was like, well, now what? I'm not rat shopping. This thing was like a capybara. Have you have you seen those big Brazilian out of context with you? Those big Brazilian. It doesn't sound like I'm about to talk about a rat. Anyway, all right. I was gonna mention last episode. Last episode was about vengeful behavior, things done out of pettiness or spite. And I was trying to think of one because I didn't think of one before the episode, and so my brain's running for stuff. And I remembered this guy I used to work at a radio station with, and I was gonna tell you what I did, and then I realized that I needed to preface that with so much stuff, and I was running out of time. So we'll see where this goes tonight. For anyone who doesn't know, I've been doing stand-up comedy for 23 years, but prior to that, and also during that, I've been a radio DJ. And when I first I'm about to admit to some criminal behavior when I was a child or a younger person. Anyway, it's whatever. I'm morally corrected. I took a job. I had been working at a grocery store, and that was like my whole work history outside of mowing lawns. And I got a job at Best Buy in the CD department. CDs were, I don't know if you remember those. Those used to exist. Compact discs, little metal. Yeah, everybody knows what a CD is. But I'm getting sidetracked again. Look at this forensic nostalgia I got going on. When I was working in the music department of Best Buy, this was 1996. I'm dating myself. No, this was 95 probably. Maybe 95. So there were two parts. When you walked into a Best Buy, it's totally different than it is now. The entire store was built around the music department. It was the center section of the store. Car audio was back there. Refrigerators and shit were back there. The TVs and stuff were over there to the right. So you would come in and there would be aisle after aisle. And half of it was CDs and half of it was cassette tapes. God, the way we used to have to listen to music. So there was vinyl. And vinyl was slow to, like it was just, you had to go pick up the needle and move it to a different song, but you could select your song. But the records were big, and you couldn't put a record player in your car. That was for sure going to skip. So eventually they came out with cassettes, magnetic tape and little plastic cassettes. And cassettes sucked because you couldn't just go to the song you wanted. You had to fast forward, stop, hit play, see if that's no shit. All right, fast forward, play. No, wait. You pull the tape out. You have to read the stupid little. It's on the other side. You have to put it in. Fast forward. And then you find the song. All right, that's the right song, but it's not the beginning. And then eventually they made tape decks that could auto find the beginning, but not for a long time. The upside of tapes where you could record your own stuff, which meant mixtapes, which were amazing. Because some people were better at mixtapes than other people. Some people were terrible. Some people would give you a mixtape and it would have like 3 songs on one side because they would record, but then they would leave it recording and they would never go back and correct it, and then they'd play another song and record it, or they'd get to the end and realize the side didn't have enough tape to record the song, so you'd only get half a song. And then if you were really good, the best of the best, would rewind the tape all the way to the beginning, and then you take your pencil, which is usually reserved for emergency situations, to spool the tape back up when it got stuck in your tape deck. But you could use it to just spin it a couple of notches to get past that leader tape so that the first part of the song wasn't cut off. And a wonderful person, the best of the best of the best, would time everything out. They'd be like, this side of the tape has 30 minutes on it, and I got 29 and 45 seconds worth of music, and they'd fill that up, and then they'd do that. They'd go look at the track links for every. Oh, I miss those friends. Anyway, I was working at Best Buy in the music department, and tapes were awesome because you could record on them, but they were very difficult to find your place. And CDs were the step up. You could eventually record on them, but you could also go to any track you wanted, and the audio quality was perfect. So radio stations went from playing records to playing CDs. It's where you lost the crackle that you'd hear on the radio. And in the CD department, we would always have, it was organized a certain way. And radio DJs, because they were stoned all the time or drunk in the studio or all the fun stuff that used to happen in radio in the 90s, CDs, you'd play them, and then you'd just leave them laying on the desk. They'd get scratched up. Stuff happened. And I'm in Beaumont, Texas, right? So there's not a whole lot of music stores, not a lot of places to go if you scratch a CD. And if you're a radio station that's supposed to be playing this song all the time, you can't have scratched up versions of it. So you got to go to the Best Buy. You got to buy a new one. And I was at the Best Buy. And I wanted to work at the radio station. So I would just I was like, man, how do I get to the radio station? Here's what I'll do. Every time they come in to buy a new CD for the station, I'll tell them we're out of it, but I have a copy and I'll bring it by after my shift. So I would start bringing CDs to the radio station. Every time they were there, I would ask if I could get a job. Hey, can I get a job? And they go, no. You just graduated high school and you don't know shit about anything. And why would you be on the radio, child? Get out of here. Thank you for the CD. And after about the 10th time, I think the program director caught on that we weren't out of all those CDs. He gave me a job running the Rick D show, which, if you remember in the 90s, you ever listen on Sunday mornings, it was the Rick D's Top 40 Countdown. Rick D's show would be recorded and then shipped out to all the affiliates on CDs. And then all the stations all across the country would play this. There was no automation. There was no emailing stuff. There were no MP3s. This was impossible. You had to have a physical copy of stuff, which meant somebody had to put the CD in every morning, every Sunday morning at 6 a.m., play the first segment, wait 20 minutes, put the commercials in, play, and then put the second segment in till Rick D's finished his stupid countdown at 10 o'clock in the morning. Now, that's the job they gave me. But I was so ecstatic to have a paycheck that said 94.1. That was the radio station. KQXY were the call letters. Wow. I believe Dale Baird was the program director there. And, I don't know why I'm thinking about all this. He gave me this job, and every Sunday morning, I would show up hungover as shit from the night before. Me and all my boys would go out to a little bar called Get Down Brown's. It was at a late night club, so we'd stay there until 2 drinking, and then we'd stay there until 4 partying, and then I'd jump in the car and drive all the way out to the radio station and relieve whoever was on overnights, and I'd start running the Rick D show. And I wanted to be on the air, right? And I wasn't on the air. I was a bored monkey. I was just pressing buttons. So the rock station across town, I figured I could talk them into hiring me, right? I had some radio experience now. This wouldn't be that difficult. At least I had some resume. But you need an air check to get a radio job. It's like if you were trying to get into VO or anything else right now. You need an air check. And an air check is what you sound like talking over the music. The only way to do that was to play music and turn on a microphone and record yourself doing another thing, talking over. So I needed the radio station I was working at, but the production room was locked on the weekends. That's where all the equipment was. And I had this little, I still have it. My grandfather gave me a little red Swiss Army knife, like MacGyver. And I would go pick every Sunday morning. I'd pull out there's a little lock-picky kind of thing on it that I would jam into this door, and I would jimmy the lock. And then I would go in and record air checks and send them to K106, the rock station across town. And in my head, thought I was doing this terrible thing, right? Oh, and then I'm violating these people's trust. They got me running the Rick D show. They gave me this wonderful honor, and I'm betraying them by going across town. Because eventually, I sent enough air checks in. Kurt Cruiser, the program director over at 106, called me up. He beeped me. That's what I remember having. I had my beeper on, and I got a beep that had the K106 phone number on it. I was so proud. Wow, I'm getting beeped from the radio station. I stopped at a payphone. I called. There were payphones back then. Those were important. I called, and he goes, "Hey, man, you still want a job in radio?" And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "You start tonight at midnight." I went, "Oh, shit. I'm probably going to have to quit 94." And I went over there, and I told them. And in my head, I was so worried that I was leaving them in this lurch, that I was abandoning them, my family. I don't even think one of them looked up. There were like 5 or 6 people in the studio that day. I think one of them was like, "All right, man." Nobody even cared. "Don't forget your other check." It was so, it was so unimportant. Anyway, I went to work at K106, and that was the first time. I must have been, this is 90, so I was 21? Damn, right in there. 21. And it was the first time I felt like I was doing something people were watching or paying attention to. Because you'd say stuff, there's no immediate feedback in radio, right? You don't get the instant gratification like you do in stand-up. That's a big reason I probably ended up in stand-up and not radio for my whole career. But I went to work there, and I was running bits. I was things that I thought were funny. It was before I'd done stand-up, but I was watching a lot of stand-up. I just thought, in the back of your pipe dreamy sort of brain, it might be something I'd do one day. So I would run these bits on the radio, and they were terrible, terrible bits. I remember Tickle Me Elmo came out that Christmas that I was working there, and I remember the joke was something about it being bigger I would describe it, and then I go, "It's bigger in the 18 to 24-year-old female demographic." It was so stupid. It was terrible. It was like I was trying to write monologue jokes, and they were god-awful. I remember saying something about that we had gone to the Melissa Etheridge concert at the Woodlands for some event, and I remember describing it as water everywhere and not a drop to drink. That was I know, it's stupid young me. Anyway, I worked there. It was an amazing station. This was like, it had been run by this old hippie. This is back when there were like just a few independent stations. Weird. I got arrested there. My totally different. My stepdad had told the cops where I was. I had a warrant. Me and him weren't getting along. My brother called me on the hotline. "Hey, man, the cops are on their way." And I went to close the blinds. And as soon as I went to shut the blinds, I saw 2 cop cars pulling to the station. I was like, ah. And they tried to get me to come out. And I was like, I can't come out. They locked me in here on Sunday afternoons. I can't get in. I can't let you guys in. And then the cop goes, "Well, then I'll just call the fire marshal, and they'll open the door for us, and then you'll get double arrested." And I was like, "Oh, this key probably works." And I let them in. They hung out with me for for my whole shift. Those were good days. And then like all good things, it came to an end. Clear Channel bought the station from old Ken Stevens, the old hippie who'd owned it, who died recently, if I'm not mistaken. And he cleared $1 million, and Clear Channel got another flower in their bouquet that they could totally kill within a couple of days. They came in and they flipped the format on us to KISS, which is all poppy. They fired everybody systematically, one by one. Everybody just kind of went. I think Angel, my friend, was the last one there. And they replaced Kurt Cruiser, the big old gruff badass who trained me this way. "Hey, man, this button turns the microphone on. This button stops the music," because we had just gone to automation when I got to that station. He goes, "I'll be in my office listening. Don't suck." And I was so terrified. Anyway, they fired him. They brought in this 24-year-old kid, I think, Drew Daly. And this little prick, this Weasley smarmy nose in the air, broadcast degree, Ivy League chump. No grit, no teeth, no dirt, no rock and roll, no soul. This cat lets me go for bringing a guest into the studio. And at the time, we were promoting a band from Beaumont named Sunflower. They had a concert that night, that Friday night. I think on Wednesday, I bring the guitarist in. We're going to meet for a beer after my shift. He comes in, we talk for a little while. That last hour, we go grab a beer. I come in the next day, and I'm fired for the guest in the studio without permission. That smarmy little... Anyway, I was doing the top 8 at 8 at the time, which meant I got to count down the top 8 songs over the course of a half hour or an hour. Then you would have to write them down because there was no internet. You would have to write down the list, and then you would have to call me after the top 8 at 8 and read them back. And if the person who got them correct, if you were the 8th caller and you got them correct, you won whatever I was giving away that night. Dumb radio contest. By the way, we never took the actual whatever caller. You ever hear it's the 126th caller? Bud. There's no way they're taking 126 callers. It goes to you, all right, caller number 126 right now. Even caller number 22. Doesn't even matter. You just caller number 3, try again. Caller number 9, try again. Then you wait a minute. Caller number 22, you win. Come on. You just had to get in the queue and hope. It was random. Anyway, top 8 at 8 would go down. And this little schmuck, as soon as he fired me, took my shift. Moved right into it. All excited to be running. Because it's a good spot if you're in a crappy little town. Gave you some pizzazz. And I would listen to this station. And I would have to listen to his dumb voice reading through the top 8 at 8. And one night I remember, because they have in the hotline in the station, it has a number you call every single night to check the power levels of the transmitter. Make sure you power down the proper amount in the evening and you power back up in the morning properly, and you're checking those levels according to the FCC with this touch-tone phone from the studio. And the receiver receives these commands like any other, phone system does. And you can do all sorts of things, including take the entire station off the air if you want to. You can power down the entire antenna. 100,000 watt antenna sitting out in Southeast Texas. Now, I remember all of this. I had to do it every single night when I was working there. So one night, I'm driving home, and I hear Drew Daly, a little schmuck, reading off the top 8 at 8. And he gets to about song number 3. And I go, well, wait a sec. I pull off to a gas station. I turn the radio up a little bit. I roll down the window, plug in some money. Around song number 2, I dial the transmitter. And this is hard. I know this is a felony. I'm only because of the statute of limitations do I get to talk about this now. And then right before he goes, the number 1 song, I shut the whole radio station down. And then he would have to scramble and call in and figure it out because he didn't know immediately. Someone had to call and tell him it broke. I did this to him every night that it occurred to me. I don't know that he ever figured that out. Turn off a whole station. I miss those days. I'm glad I'm not a heathen anymore. I miss the radio days. They, in turn, now that I look back at it, picking that lock on that first production room door is what ultimately got me here, which is an entirely different part 2 of the story. The journey from there to here with the comedy club and so much to talk about. Thanks for letting me get through all of this and a little bit of my past. I'll see you again on another episode of the Slade Ham Experiment.